the thing that was remarkable, last week was I saw that Ilya Sutskever's Safe Superintelligence firm has a $32 billion valuation, and they don't have any products.
I know they must have the best slide deck you've ever seen.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, that is something to generate that kind of valuation with no product.
Well, it just shows you. I mean, I don't know if you can call VC money like always smart money, but it just shows you that someone is seeing, like, kind of, I think what we're kind of seeing is that there's just so much value to be generated being the intelligence layer for the world, right? Like, there truly is. I had this concept in my mind a few months ago that I explained. I told someone, and they thought that I was quite smart when I thought they're basically creating a tax on intelligence. Like, if you want to step back, and big tech is creating a tax on intelligence. That's the way to think of it. Because, and look, it's a very different looking tax, but every time you want some help or automation or advice or just like every interaction you have with AI is just going to have a little tax. Maybe it might be a cent or might be half a cent, but this is going to be so big. You're going to have 7 billion people or whatever they're going to tax every little piece of thought or every piece of intelligence that every single person is doing at all times. It's the most amazing business model ever created, right? It's cloud on steroids.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me, did you ever read the Michael Lewis book Flash Boys about the high
I
volume
did.
traders?
I did
And
a
about,
long time ago, so I don't really remember that much about it.
but it's basically about how these high volume trading firms will spend millions of dollars to locate their networks just incrementally closer geographically and get, be able to front run on trades and, through that front running, get a fraction of a cent on every trade. But they're doing so many trades and so it's kind of a brilliant thing because even though you're, in a sense, you and I are kind of getting cheated because we don't have access to the same speed of trade. And so we're getting our trades front run and then, paying a higher price, but it's so small that nobody gets upset about it until you multiply all those trades by that fraction of a cent and
Mm.
realize that's, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And
Mm.
it's kind of the same thing that, I look at
Yeah,
my open router credits and, they barely go down every day. It's pennies a day. But you're
yeah,
right. If we have billions of people spending pennies a day, pretty soon that adds up to real money.
yeah. And the thing is, like, I think we're gonna, like, on a personal level. So I just think about how much I query AI every day. I'm querying it in ChatGPT. I'm querying it with voice. I'm querying it with
On your phone.
oh, yep, on my phone and these AI dev tools. There's no reason why I couldn't. If the systems were set up, I could easily query it 100x the amount of time. Like,
Right.
if I had an agent that I could set off for 2 hours to go and build something for me, I could query it 200 times without even looking. Like,
Right.
that's the that's the scale I think these things are going to get to. Like, I really do. I really do, because they're so cheap. Like, why wouldn't, if I could just set off some agent to go and query Gemini 2.5 200 times to just build the scaffold of an app that I would come in and I would fix up later. I would do that in a second, because it would probably cost me $2, but I've just saved myself from 2 years ago 30 grand. Like, and so the scale at which that's going to happen for 7 billion people is unimaginable. Unimaginable.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's like a tax on intelligence. That's the sort of framing that I see. And it's just so cheap that it's going to be absolutely pervasive. You won't even blink, I don't think, if you're spending $10 a day with 2,000 queries going out in all different directions for all different parts of your life, right?
It's funny, after our talk last time, that podcast cost me like an extra like $70 a month because as soon as we had that conversation, you talked about how many things you signed up for. I
Mm.
just I just realized, like, why am I not signing up for these? That if this thing saves me an hour a month, it pays for itself.
Yep.
And they all do, So I think since we had that talk, I think I picked up like 4 or 5 new services. And it's like,
I've, and that's just you. What about our listeners? If there's any out there, I've encouraged them too.
well, it was interesting because there was a guy who ran a poll on LinkedIn. It said, how much do you spend per month on services, on
Mm,
AI services and AI subscriptions? And the upper level one choice was $200, and I'm like, I do that on one. You know,
yeah, yeah,
my open
one.
AI subscription already. I'm maxed out on that one, and so, and when you said, you were what,
I'm at
1,500.
1,500 easy. Like I think I'm probably at more, but I pay through it all through the company, right? So like it's not personal. It's a company expense. But yeah, I'm an easy 1,500.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was thinking about, like, when we talked about the MCP stuff last time, that what I now do is, through one of the services, it creates webhooks, and I link that to my Stream Deck, and I'm kind of addicted to the Stream Deck because I love just doing stuff by pushing a button,
Yeah.
and so now I can issue calls, specific MCP calls, to a specific model with just a button.
What are some cool things that you've been doing with MCP over the last couple of weeks? I still haven't really had time to dive into it, but I know you've been deep into it.
It's not quite there yet. But one of
Mm,
the things that I really started playing with was and I resubscribed to 11 Labs. Like, I had an 11 Labs subscription, thought it was cool, never used it, and then just earlier this week, I resubscribed because they now have an 11 Labs MCP tool, so you can basically do voice to text, text to voice. You
mm,
can you can translate stuff. You can just do everything right through the MCP by voice. And so I thought, oh, I gotta have that, because the idea that you could completely control everything you do by voice,
mm.
or a push of a button, like, that's got me sold.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And so basically, what I've been doing is really just kind of working on my day-to-day workflows, and trying to then set up flows where I can call multiple tasks in a row.
Mm,
And so I can say, okay, like, summarize this, put it in Obsidian, send it to Sam by email, and put a note on the calendar.
mm,
And
mm,
just basically just send that off, and kind of like what you were saying, which is, kind of having the agents working while you're doing something else. And
mm.
that's really kind of the focus of, playing with the webhooks, and playing with kind of multiple calls at a time.
Mm.
Those are some of the things I'm really starting to play with. I agree with you. Voice, as I said, both because I think it's just a really efficient way of communicating, and also for me, it's just something, kind of the only way.
Yeah.
That's something I've really been diving deep into.
But you're saying it's still, because I'd imagine it's still a little bit clunky. Like I love the vision of bringing those all together, but I personally have not had an experience where anything like that has ever happened to me yet.
It's not there yet. It's not
Right.
there yet, but it's I can see it from where I am. Like, it doesn't seem that far off, and I am certain by the end of the year, the voice stuff and the MCP are going to be beautifully integrated.
Yeah. When that becomes seamless, wow, it's just gonna change so much, so much. I want to get your view. There was this really funny post on LinkedIn that I woke up to this morning. I see that you had commented on it, and it had all of these like data. Um, I don't know what you like data.
Oh,
Would you say like
it was kind of
what would
like
be how would you term
extreme.
that?
Pardon?
How would you explain? Because I
It was
commented on it as well. I thought it was just such a funny.
This is Alan Harmon Box, and
Yeah,
he's definitely a good follow if
yeah,
you're interested in data or DAX or Power BI. And
yeah.
he basically said, like, that it was all these dichotomies. Like, it was like
Yeah.
pie charts are the worst visual ever created, and then pie charts are what my CEO loves, so they by definition are the most insightful thing I can put in a report. And
Yeah.
that the one I said was, that if you don't use this particular tool stack, you will never be employable. And then the other side of it was, the only thing that matters is asking the right questions. If you do that, you're better than most analysts with just a handful of colored chalk,
Yeah.
and it was kind of the extremes. And the thing we were joking about, I've been chatting back and forth with him today, is at some point I think I believed either end of the extremes, and he was saying the same thing. And it's a really smart post, and
Yeah.
it kind of goes to show, I think, in a sense, how silly either of the extreme arguments are.
It's an interesting journey from a personal point of view. It's like someone becomes a data expert, and then they get to they get a title about being a data expert, and then it feels like you've all of a sudden got to start shouting about all these best practices and all these things you should be doing, and you kind of forget. I think, and look, I see the same thing in coding, countering every single vibe code post at the moment. It's exactly the same thing. You kind of get to these positions where you're seen as an expert, and then you've got to start saying like all of these like grand things that you should be doing this, and you've got to do this, and you can't do this. But really, at the end of the day, like none of it is the absolute truth. Like it's all just views. It's all just theories. Like at the end of the day, and I kind of wrote this, like just getting it done is like probably the best strategy. Just get it done. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be done this way. Doesn't have to be done that way. Just actually getting it done is probably the best strategy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those who get into those level of experts, right, like they lose sight of that because you feel like you've got to have all of these like really insightful things to say that sort of get wrapped up in your persona. But it's just not as exciting, and doesn't create as much engagement if you're just saying, hey, just use a spreadsheet for your database, get it done. Don't
Or just
don't worry
the
about a
correct
star
answer to
schema.
everything is it depends.
Yeah, I know, I know. I saw a post actually, and he
Mhm.
said, big data. It's never really
Oh,
been
this is Mark.
big.
This is Marco's post.
Marco, sorry, it
Yeah.
got really popular. It's never really been about big data. It's all about good data, and so much engagement. I was like, oh my god, thank God, someone actually said it out loud. You know, like so many tools, so many tools were sold, so many processes where we've been told we have to do for years have been for big data. But at the end of the day, it just never mattered. It never mattered in a lot of cases. Maybe it mattered for like some huge multinational bank or something in the
Right.
US. But for 97% of companies, none of that stuff matters. None of it matters. It's just like, get it done. Get it done. It's far more effective, cost effective, far more impactful if you just like take that mentality and just make it happen.
Well, it's kind of like Power BI, that I, to tell you the truth, all the direct query stuff and composite models and all, I don't know it because I've never had a data set that I couldn't fit an import.
Yeah.
I mean, I've used some multi-million row data sets and they all fit in import mode. And so I never really bothered to learn the other stuff because you need to, that I don't, in the work I do, I don't deal with data sets that large. And so, it was never an issue.
Yeah. And look, it also leads me to say like, I think we're kind of aligned on this. I think the data industry is going to go through the biggest transformation you've ever seen in the next like 2 to 3 years. It hasn't happened maybe as quick as I thought, but I think that the majority of analysis could be safely done just with a chat interface. Like I truly believe it. I truly believe it. Even with it being maybe not exactly correct on every single number, I think that it's going to be good enough. It's going to be good enough because you've got to remember that like a lot of Power BI reports, a lot of Excel reports, they're not actually correct as well, by the way. It's going to be good enough that it's gonna take over 80% of analysis that is done out there. Like it probably, you know. I'm even thinking as one of these projects that I want to build live is actually building it live, like trying to vibe code as much as I can to sort of build a prototype around where this is actually all going. Yeah, I just think it's inevitable at this point. I really do, because it's not like the AI has to find the insights. The AI only has to write the SQL. It only has to write the Python, right? And so these AIs, you could just have AI try and figure out what the insight is, but it only has to maybe figure out the type of insight, but then write the Python code and write the SQL code. And we know that these models they just know this stuff. They can just write this stuff so easily now. I think it's totally inevitable at this point that there's going to be a rapid transformation here.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about a post you did, which you talked about kind of the feedback you've been getting and kind of how to basically incorporate that into the platform and learning. And I'm sure you know the post I'm talking about, because it drew a lot of responses. And just wanted to get your thoughts on kind of the reaction to that, and kind of where you go from there.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Like I receive more personal messages, particularly on LinkedIn, than I have ever received, actually. And my posts don't get anywhere the amount of views that they used to get too, because I'm not talking about Power BI. But as you said earlier, it's hard to imagine, but I think I was just so far ahead of everyone that no one was sort of seeing what I was sort of seeing, but I was talking about it, I was shouting about it, but definitely more people are now. Like definitely, like there is, and I can just see it in people who are reaching out to me. I'm getting more than I've ever received. And look, I think learning is changing. Like we have touched upon this. Traditional learning, I think, still has a place, but in this new wave that is moving so fast, I personally now think this is in the last month or so, I've started to think we are better off just going all in AI and not really creating that much more video content. We can still create some traditional video content, but nowhere near as much as we had in the past, and go all out building AI applications to help people learn and be more productive with AI. Like that is the conclusion that I have reached, and why I said earlier that I think we're going to become more sort of a software company. There's way more opportunities ahead of us for that, by doing that. But also, I think we're going to be way more impactful. I honestly do. Like just with no code as one example, right? I have learned so much in the last month using our tool that we built for. Basically, we built for me, and I've learned so much that way. And I think that we could do that across lots of different tools, lots of different verticals now, just by building applications, because we can add voice to our apps now. Like we can, as I say, like as we've been talking about, like we can add text-based learning, but we can also add voice. In no code, we have an 11 Labs agent in it that you can talk to about coding concepts, etc. Like I just think that there's just so huge opportunities by just doubling down on that strategy. And look, it's different to what we've done in the past, but my ambition is to sort of layer in a lot of these apps we're building into our subscription. So like it will be kind of like a transitional period, I think. So that's the sort of AI and software bit. But I think, and you sort of mentioned this as well, is that we've got to show more examples, show everyone the way, like show how you can do it, whether it's real time or short snippets on social media or on YouTube. It's just actually show the building of it, show how you do it. Like I wouldn't say it's that hard, because the AI does a lot of the work, but I think it's more the imagination, like getting everyone inspired around how you actually do it. Like how you open the app and how you prompt it, and things you can think about, and things that you can potentially add, and what tools you need to use to add them, and sort of things like that. So that's what we're going to do. Everything I'm saying, we're going to do it. I'm going to do it, and that's sort of the direction that I'm taking Enterprise DNA in general.
I think for me, I mean, it's funny how I'm having like this flashback to when I first started with Power BI, and I found Enterprise DNA channel, and I started just mainlining your videos and just watching one after another. And, I was trying to just kind of cram as much knowledge into my head, particularly about DAX. And what I realized is that the more skilled the instructor is, the easier it is to become passive. That I would watch your DAX videos and I would say, that makes total sense. Like, I totally get that. And then I would be in front of the computer trying to do it myself and be like, I know what I'm doing. And I kind of feel that way with, some of the coding stuff now is I
Mm.
can watch, there are a couple where you kind of speed through, a build, and it's like I can watch that and I can say, okay, totally makes sense. And then when I go to do it myself, I'm kind of lost. And so, I think it's not only having the show people, it's having the build along, to basically say, okay,
Yeah.
let's take some simple apps and let's do these together. I'll give you a head start, with a few concepts on video. You then spend, a week fumbling around with yourself, kind of figuring it out. And by the time we come back together, you now understand what I'm talking about in a way that you wouldn't just by watching. I mean, that, at
Yeah.
least for me, that was kind of the deja vu that I had, because I'm like, oh, I've been here on the DAX front.
Yeah. 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 Look, and that's what we've got to do. I think we're going to do it through, because we've got this AI builders sort of community that we're trying to build.
Right, right,
It's been hard yards the last 6 months, because I don't think like everyone's bought into it as much as I thought they would. But I'm going to start doing more live events, or at least show a lot more snippets of like what I'm doing. The reason why we probably haven't done it as much as I would have liked over the past 6 months or so is because I wasn't as good as I am now. Like
right.
I just didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I was just vibing, and but I didn't know what the specifics were around app development, like hooks and edge functions and AI API calls and all this kind of stuff. But I've in the last month or two, I've my level has just skyrocketed. Like I've just got so much better. I'm way more confident that I actually know what's going on. I can actually explain things really, really well
Right.
to others. And so I feel like the timing is right. The timing is right. Like I have the ability now to actually talk about coding. The other biggest unlock, which is why I think the software piece is such a big opportunity, is it's really been no code that we built, and the visuals the architecting visuals, and the way that we've sort of built it, that's just been a massive unlock for me in understanding. I relate it back to, how with Power BI, we always used to say, you kind of want to have the model in your mind, right? Like you want to, when you're working in DAX and you're creating your visualizations, you don't want to have to look at your model to every single time to understand what's going on.
Right.
That is what I've done now in app development. When the AI is coding, I kind of have a mental map in my mind. I know what it's doing. I know what it's doing. Like I didn't have that 2 months ago. I know that it's building an edge function here. It's building a hook that is connected to a front end component here. It's building it's refactoring the page into multiple components. And because I've visually now been able to tie all these things together, I have this mental model in my mind of what is going on, and that's what's taken my skills. That's what's taken my skills to another level. It truly has. And I think that's what we've got to. That's our opportunity. I think. Like I think that's what we've got to try and get more people across. And I think there's tens of thousands actually out there
Yeah.
who want to do this. Like I that's my feeling. We've just got to get the word out, and we've got to showcase some really cool stuff. I think my feeling is I'm going to start with this data agent thing. That is because I think that's very relevant to all of our historic audience, but also we can build something like pretty exceptional. I think if we do that over a couple of weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Because I think people seeing the nexus, particularly traditional data analysts, seeing the nexus between the work they do and this, that's I think that's the thing that's really starting to click for me, is the possibilities of tying those two things together. And I think kind of making that link more explicit to people is going to be a big unlock, for them
Yeah.
and for enterprise DNA.
Yeah. Well, we've got some cool things coming out. Like, so we've just released no code. We're going to have power vibes. I'm going to try and create an event around this. Like data agents would be sort of like the first example there. Um,
I
yeah.
can't
And
wait
then,
to see the power vibes thing.
yeah, 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 yeah. Look, I've been showing a few images online. There's just I was away last week and I got back and
Right.
then I did some testing and immediately there were some bugs. So as is always the case. And so look, we're just trying to refine. That as much as we can. But you know the other thing I've been doing is I set up this little business called Omni Intelligence. I set it up a couple of months ago, and we've already got one customer and we've got another one potentially as well. So almost got two customers. And what we're doing is it's sort of like a an AI first development company. And the reason why there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to do it. First of all, is I have so many ideas and I just want to explore that creatively. Also, I have a development team. So you know, we can all work like a lot faster than we did before. So there's like new opportunities we can go after as well, including our own. Um, but the other reason is that I came to this conclusion that okay, if I really want to get good at app development, which is I've wanted to for 6 or 9 months now, I need to increase the surface area of how much I'm doing. You know, I need to see a lot of variety, and I need to be able to be doing it all day, every day. And so um, that's been another reason why I've been so busy. Like I've been so we're doing all these things that we're releasing under us, but we're also doing some things for some other people as well. And it's completely fascinating. It's what is actually giving me a lot of these updated insights. Actually, like how voice is going to be so big is because we've kind of been building a voice application for the last month, and it's incredible. Like it's so incredible. It's gonna be plugged into this like huge market out there. Like so, it's crazy. Here's a good concept though, like that a good framing that I like is that how can you in the AI era increase your surface area of opportunity? Like that's just a good framing. Like think about that. Just think deeply about that. I think about that. I've thought about a lot in recent months, and you know I'm sort of trying to execute on what I believe there. It's also it flows into that idea that I said earlier if you just keep building within your sort of circle of competence, something's going to work out here. Like something will appear. You know, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're in different places, kind of business wise and career wise. But for me, it's about kind of increasing the surface area of my happiness. That it's kind of I want to spend more time doing the stuff I like to do and less time doing the stuff I don't like. And yeah, it's basically like a lot of my focus now on workflows and all is how can I offload all the shit I don't like to do on the AI and spend the time doing what I really enjoy. And that's hugely motivational. It's kind of like to be able to offload these things on the a smart machine is just fabulous. Because it means the more time you get to spend really doing the satisfying work that you enjoy. But one of the things I was talking to a friend this weekend when we were away, and her whole career area, with all the turmoil that's going on in Washington, and the huge reductions in government funding, government staff. I mean, government is just a huge business here. It's like most people you meet in DC are involved somehow, either working for the government or consulting for the government, or in a business that receives money directly or indirectly from the government. And she had this great this great business and career she really enjoyed, and it kind of blew up. And with all the changes, and I I was talking to her, and I was saying, I was kind of using yours and my story about kind of when ChatGPT came in and kind of just blew us out of the water in some respects. Like it
Mm,
just kind of turned the educational market kind of upside down in a weekend.
mm,
And I think we would both say that in a weird way that was the greatest thing that could have happened. Because it put us on this new path that I am just every day I wake up, and it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying that, but it's like, the excitement I have and the excitement I see that you have in doing this. And you say, every day I want to, dive in and learn more and do more and, kind
Yeah.
of develop new skills. It's really kind of it's kind of an exhilarating thing. And so,
Mm.
I was talking to her and saying, when something you really enjoy and really value blows up, in the moment that seems terrible,
Mm.
but it may not be. That, I think for both of us, I think we would say, you know, that ended up being kind of, to me, one of the most interesting periods of my career.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely a mindset thing, right? Like I think I spent probably a year worrying, a year probably, like probably more, probably a little bit more, maybe a year worrying. And I'm sure like a lot of people are doing that within large
Oh
companies right
yeah.
now. Like, there's a lot of worrying, and that's why there's a lot of like kickback and gatekeeping and things like that. Um,
There's a huge amount of anxiety that comes with
Yeah,
change.
look, it's understandable. It's totally
Yeah.
understandable. There's a bucket load of disruption going on. Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just reality. Like, I even just think like the entire internet is getting rewired. Really, like if you think about it, Google used to be the centerpiece of the internet. Just think about how many business models. I mean, I've seen it. I've experienced it. How many business models are getting disrupted because Google isn't the center of the internet universe anymore. So look, there's disruption everywhere. There's anxiety, as you say, and like I worried for well over a year, even though the business is still it's still ticking over. It wasn't until I sort of really started to see the opportunity, like I changed my mindset. I kind of got an inkling of the opportunities, particularly with like these dev tools, and then the models have got a lot better, and then all of a sudden, boom, I see abundance, I see opportunities everywhere. And
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Like it probably comes across in our discussions. Like I'm just so much more excited about the future, even though it's taken a while to sort of let go of the past. But the future is just so abundant. There's just so many opportunities. I believe if we just keep building here, something's going to like really take off. Like I really, really, really do believe that. And I think that a lot of people are going to go through this journey. Some will come out of it like going really well. Some maybe not so well. But my feeling and my advice would be, it's a mindset thing. It truly is. Like if you come into it with sort of, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but like a bit more of an abundance mindset. I think you're going to find like there is a very exciting future out there. Very, very exciting. I don't like
I
it. It's so cliche, isn't it? But that's kind of where I think you need to be.
I totally agree. And I mean, I joke that, the times I enjoy my work the most is when I don't know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm struggling to kind of catch up and learn something new and, kind of not drown in the deep end of the pool. And, you know, that the last 2 years have really been that, for me.
Yeah.
And it's been fascinating because it's like, I feel like every day there's so much to learn, and you have the comfort of saying, okay, like, here's something I'm really good at. And I know I've got that to hang on to. It's like, every day the ground is shifting and changing. And, it's like, well, now here's a whole bunch of stuff I don't know, and
Yeah.
I even feel that, just just with with the dev tools and with agents and with MCP, every day I wake up and there's just a bunch of stuff I don't know. But
It's massive markets that haven't even started yet. They haven't even
right,
started.
right,
Yep.
right. And it's kind of like I was talking to somebody else about, she was talking about a project for December. And I was saying, man, December feels like 10 years from now. Like the world could look so different by December, that it seems almost silly to be, sitting here at the end of April talking about what the world is going to be like in December, which, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, for most of our lives, it's like, 6, 7, 8 months was not that long, and you could reasonably predict, okay, here's what I'm doing in April. I have a pretty good guess what December is going to look like. And now I
Mm.
think it's just kind of foolish to even think you could, you could come close.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if everyone sees this or feels this, but AI is going to give everyone so much agency to do new and different things. That's what I'm seeing. It's not going to maybe be like a secure job, but I feel like that kind of thing has been eroding for a while, right? Like I don't know if there is such thing as a secure job anymore. So your friends, as an example, right? They have expertise, they have some insights, they have a circle of competence that they could apply in new and diverse ways. Most likely they could build an application, they could showcase their insights in a unique way, they could find some way to AI augment their sort of expertise or workflow, distribute it in slightly different ways. Like that's kind of what I think most that is the opportunity for a lot of people now. I really do. Like if you're an amazing, okay, so say for instance, I'll throw this back at you. What would you do if you were the best Power BI developer in a large company right now, and you know that the AI can pretty much do everything other than the visualization for you? Like, and you were worried about your value going forward. What would you recommend?
I mean, what I always think is, take the domain knowledge you've got. The domain knowledge is kind of like, like the price of gold's been going way up because in times of uncertainty, people turn to the things that endure. And I think in this changing world, the thing that really endures is your domain knowledge. And so, if you're saying, I'm the best Power BI developer in a big firm or something, that means I'm probably a really, really strong analyst. And because I don't think you can, even if your job isn't technically data analysis, it's Power BI development. To be a really great developer, you have to understand the infrastructure and foundation of really great analysis.
Mm.
And so, what I would really look to is, how can I take that knowledge and augment it with AI so that, when AI takes over more and more of the grunt work that we do in Power BI, that I can leverage, kind of like that movie director analogy, that I'm now maybe not the one creating the reports, but I'm the one directing that team of agents to say, okay, do this, do this, do this, in order to produce an absolutely top-notch analysis.
Yeah.
I still feel like that would be such a marketable skill to have, to say, hey, I'm great at Power BI. I am a terrific analyst, and I'm also a whiz with AI. I mean, who's not going to want somebody like that?
Yeah. Well, you know that I came up with this framing. Maybe it was ahead of its time as well, but the full stack AI professional, right? This is this
Yeah.
thing I've been saying. Didn't get like an amazing reaction when I put it out there. Maybe it's because of the audience that I've had historically, but that's what I think you need to become. I'm doing what I'm saying. I think that if you're a data professional, you can legitimately create Power BI reports probably in 25% of the time that it used to take you. You legitimately can. If you're using AI throughout your entire development process, right? A lot of the things that you might have spent a lot of time on, like debugging formulas and figuring out M code, etc. Like you can use the AIs now to help you do that a lot quicker, right? So you've got a lot of free time. That free time, I feel, is doing what you're saying, is that you should use your domain knowledge to build applications, to find automations that you could implement in your organization. You should be looking outwards at different ways that you can impact your organization through some of these other things that are opening up for you. Like if you're a top quality Power BI developer, or even amazing at Excel or VBA, I'm telling you, these AI coding tools are easier than what it took to learn those things. Like they're
Yeah.
easier. They are easier because you're just prompting. If you learned VBA and Power BI like we did, there was probably, you've got a propensity to just like get stuff, to learn stuff, right? Like you've got a propensity because there was a lot of trial and error. There was a lot of actually just doing it and learning. And you are the perfect candidate to build amazing AI first applications with AI tools. Like, you are the perfect candidate. You can connect to any AI modality, build anything around that. You can probably have a far bigger impact than you ever would have if you were just a Power BI developer. You've got to become that full stack AI professional, is what I believe. That's my term for it. And so, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. And as soon as you do that, you've got no worry in the world. You've got no worry in the world. I don't think, like, there's nothing to be anxious about, because there's just like almost unlimited things that you could create and build and things like that. So I don't know. Like, I've been saying this for a little while, as you know, but you actually engage with my posts and engage with my content. But I don't know if everyone still believes that. But that's what I still believe, what I believed months ago. I think it's inevitable. I think that is the way forward. I think that's what you should be doing. And that's personally what I want for the next few years, at least. That's personally what I want to empower.
Kind of going back to your last question, what would you do? There's a guy named Henny Spellman who posts on LinkedIn. He's primarily a visualization expert, but he also a really good analyst. And he had a post yesterday that just knocked my socks off. It was kind of like 9 things that you have to do in order for a data product to work, to really be insightful. And it's a brilliant post. I mean, I told him I think every analyst should have that list like tacked up on their wall and consult it at the beginning, middle, and end of every data project. And I kind of feel like, in some respect, if you could take that, if you really understand that list and you know how to build an analysis and report that can meet that, then basically what you can do is you can, through that kind of full stack analyst concept, is you can kind of figure out, okay, how do I split up the tasks so that AI can do the things it does well, in order that at the end of every project and every product, I've met all 9 of these, because so few reports and analyses I see meet even a third of them.
Just to reiterate that point, is that if you're expanding your skill set to be this full stack AI professional, you could build a vision app that does that checks for you. Like, that's a sort of like abundance thinking that you need, right? Like, you could build the reports, but then you might have a team of building reports. You could create this awesome app with AI embedded into it that helps you do that sort of level of checking, or that quality checking. It's honestly endless. It is honestly endless. I back my initial call of 10 times the amount of developers, 10 times the amount of software. I mean, honestly, I think that's light. I think that is a light. Like, I think there is so much software in every aspect of our lives and business that is yet to be created. And I think the data person is the Excel person is the perfect person to make this a reality. They are the people that are going to make this a reality. I have no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, that's a fascinating idea, in terms of taking that list, and we should pop that up, but taking that list and working with AI and saying, okay, like, here's a report. How would you score this report relative to these criteria, and what are the things you would do? Because one of the interesting things that somebody mentioned was, in some sense, we're only taking advantage of half the things that AI can do, because we're asking it questions. But what they were saying is, prompt the AI to say, okay, what questions should you ask me? Interview me about this project. And then from those answers, evaluate kind of the plan I have for it. And, kind of, in a sense, switching up who's asking the questions. And they said, by doing that, you can develop really remarkable insights, and taking a different perspective. And so, I think, kind of looking at that specific example, you could really say, okay, I've developed this work. Question me about these things, and let me tell you how I think I've met them, and then critique that response. I think it's a backwards way of using AI that we don't typically think about, but it actually makes a lot of sense.
100%. This is why voice is an unlimited market, because we're only going
Right.
one way, mostly at the moment. Just wait till it starts coming back to us in a big way. Like we'll be talking to our software. Like we will.
Yeah.
Like we will actually be talking to our software. Like I've as I've been building out this voice application, I've been using the 11 Labs conversational API to build it with my developers. This is what has created this insight for me. It's like this stuff is going to be absolutely everywhere. The technology is amazing. Like because it actually already hooks up to the latest Gemini models, right? So it's hooked up to the latest Gemini model, which 2.5. It's almost real time. 11 Labs has 200 voices that you can choose.
Right. Or
Like
you can just clone. I mean, from 5 minutes of
clone.
this video, we could
Yeah,
clone both our voices.
I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was an AI news podcast, and he said, I'm going to turn it over to my AI voice now that's going to read this article. It sounded exactly like him. There was
Yeah.
no difference at all. But he made it clear that it was like, okay, I'm going to read this article sponsored by, I think it was sponsored by Lever Labs or something. So it's like seriously smart marketing. And yeah, I mean, it was unrecognizable. I even read a comment the other day that some company set up a radio host for the last 3 months or
Oh,
something,
it was somebody in Australia. Yeah.
and no one picked it up. The voice is an unlimited market. It is going to be everywhere. There will be AI voices in the next 2 to 3 years that you can connect up to in your own style. He'll be calling football matches. He'll be talking to you in real time about data insights you're getting from your website potentially. Like it is mind blowing how big the opportunity is.
So let me ask you a technical question, because this is one I was struggling with today. That on the OpenAI interface that you can through like Whisper Flow, you can talk to it,
Yeah,
but then when it comes back, you have to wait for the response and then manually hit that speaker
yeah,
button. There's
yes.
no way. I've researched into this. There's no way using just the OpenAI tools currently that you can conduct that free-form discussion. But I think with the 11 Labs agent API, I think it can be done. And have
It
you
definitely can be
have,
done. It
have
100%
you
can be
done
done.
that yet?
Yeah, that's what we did. That's what we've done. That's what we
So you have just kind of like, we could do this conversation with an AI.
and there I am. Yep, it's just totally conversation. If you go to no code, we have put in a data agent into it. Where you click on it. We just put it in last week. You click on it. It has a bit of an intro and it says, hi, I'm a coding expert, blah blah blah, and then you can just have a conversation. You just have a conversation. Like it's just
That's what I'm trying to figure
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what the real-time API, I believe, does this at OpenAI. So it depends. Like the real-time APIs, which the conversational AI is from 11 Labs and the one that they've got in OpenAI, that is different from writing out the text, then layering a text-to-speech API on it, and then getting
Right.
it back to you. The real-time does something different. I don't know what it is, but it is more free-flowing, and that is
Well, I
the
think
big
what it's
insight.
doing is it's the TTS model that is reading as it's generating. So it
Yes,
doesn't wait to
yes,
generate and
yes.
then run that through the API. It's
Yep.
simultaneously generating and reading. And
Yep.
that's what I can't crack yet.
Yep. Conversational AI. Like we built. I built a prototype. I connected to every single API thing that you can do, because what you can do with the conversational AI as well is you can within 11 Labs is you can programmatically send all of the knowledge to the AI, and then it does what they call RAG, which is kind of like the vector database thing. Don't ask me about the internals. I don't know exactly how it works, but well, I kind of do, but I don't want to explain it. The Like it does that for you out of the box. It makes all of that easy. In the past, maybe even 6 months ago, before these solutions arrived on the scene, it was very, very complex to even attempt this, because you had to build out everything yourself. but they've abstracted away, or 11 Labs certainly have, all of the hard stuff like the database setup, the vector database, the RAG. They're doing it automatically for you. All you have to do is upload the file, upload the text, and then connect it up to your agent. And then all of a sudden, your agent has all of that information embedded into it.
Well, I got an idea for your first build along project.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what data is going to come, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
see any reason why, because this is sort of the connecting network in my mind that I've got, right? Like, and why I'm just like so convinced of this now is because I've done this, I've built this, I've seen the capabilities which didn't exist 6 months ago, and then I'm seeing how that could be overlaid into almost anything. Like you could, because the one issue with
once you know how to do that, it just becomes a module, you know.
Yeah, you just plug it into anything. Plug it into like any knowledge, right? Any knowledge like content or data, or so I could see a world where you have the AI grab a piece of like you insert some real data, you have the AI go and do a whole lot of analysis, write out all of the insights for you. You then feed that automatically into some conversational AI agent knowledge base, and then all of a sudden you then can talk to the AI about all of your insights. So all of the pieces are in play for this now.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of like internal like plumbing you need to do still even today, but that's also an opportunity. That's also an opportunity. Like why all of these things are connected via APIs. So that's the opportunity for us creators and builders is to just build the thing that makes it all seamless. Like you can just connect it all up with apps. But I'm starting to feel after this discussion that's one of the projects. It's one of the projects that we should be doing.
Oh, I'd be all over that because that's something I need to figure out, and it's been right now. It is not seamless.
No,
it's doable. I can see from the 11 Labs documentation, it's doable, but it's not seamless. And if there's a way to make it easier, I think there is a tremendous demand for that.
Yep, I think it's after the knowledge I've sort of ingested over the past like a month, playing around with it, 100% doable. 100% doable. It's within reach. It's totally within reach. It's just you have to combine a lot of things. Like you just think about, but this is truly the opportunity. This is the opportunity. If you can dream up this stuff, like you can actually build it now. I can build it. You can build it. If we just increase the like we're using our domain knowledge, aren't we? We're using our domain knowledge and data, and we're using AI to augment and rebuild into the custom application that we want or we need, or that might open up a whole new raft of opportunities for us. Like it's that is a micro example of the opportunity set out there.
I could not agree more. And that we've talked about, kind of in some sense the people developing the base models. Those are kind of the Goliaths that you and I are never going to develop a base model. Yeah. But what it does is it opens up this huge door, and particularly as it becomes cheaper and cheaper to train these things, that it opens up a door for smart, perceptive people who know this stuff to figure out where the gaps are and fill those. And right now, as I said, I keep going back to Pipe Dream, that they just brilliantly filled a gap that was frustrating the hell out of me. Every time I would try to put a new MCP server on, I'd run into, this problem, that problem, and they just solved that. And it's like, I feel like, the voice thing is another one that, 11 Labs has done brilliant stuff, but it's not easy to plug in yet. The person who makes it plug and play, that's a huge win.
Yeah. My feeling is that these AI first dev tools are going to have an entire marketplace of plugins. So there'll be like an 11 Labs plugin, and all of that hard stuff will be taken away. It will just be click, and it will be embedded into your app somehow. I think that is inevitable. It's definitely not here yet. You've got to do a lot of the plumbing yourself, but that's the opportunity for these tools like Lovable and Bolt and Windsurf and Cursors, is to actually make it even easier, which is crazy to think, but like it make it even easier to build AI apps like that.
So I want to ask you something else. You mentioned to me this week was that what we've been doing is, to get into this, I've been piecing together. Okay, I got Windsurf, I got Superbase, I've got Lovable, and you were saying that now. I mean, it's kind of like cable. It's kind of like, do you have individual streaming packages or do you have one
Yeah.
cable package? And I think
Yeah.
what you were saying was there's kind of like the equivalent of a cable package that bundles all these tools together in a good way and kind of unifies the platform. I wanted to just get your if I've got that right or kind of
Yeah,
what that is.
I'm not sure that actually truly exists at the moment, but it's the opportunity. I I wouldn't. Did you see that Superbase got valued at $2 billion the other day?
Yeah.
2 billion, and it's a New Zealand company. It was started by some New Zealanders. I kind of thought that, but I didn't know for sure. But it was big news here. It was big news in New Zealand. But $2 billion, I would say they probably weren't even worth 100 million a year ago.
Yeah.
That is what has happened with their like just incredible integrations into these AI dev tools. They've increased their value by 20 times. Unbelievable, unbelievable. And you should see the charts that they've got. Like they put them on social media. They're just like literally exponential. And I don't think they're gonna stop. I think they raised $200 billion. Like these guys are gonna. What's going to happen? A smart player like OpenAI is going to buy Windsurf. They're going to buy Netlify. They're going to buy Superbase. They're going to aggregate. They're going to vertically integrate. That would be a very, very smart move. Very, very smart move. I think someone really, really smart. I wouldn't even be surprised if Microsoft buys Lovable or Bolt at this point. They're so far behind. They're so far behind, but they have so much money that they should just buy these players and then bring it all together as one. So you don't even have to connect them all up. I almost think it's inevitable.
Yeah, Microsoft doesn't play that way though, because if you look back to Power BI, I mean,
Mm.
what they have, they've been so slow with the DAX query, and if all they would have done is just bought Tabular Editor 3 and plug
Yeah.
that in, plug that into Power BI. If they would have bought Icon Map and plugged that in rather than this slow
Mm.
roll of Azure Maps, every month, drip, 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 it gets a little bit better, but it's still, James Dales is just running circles around them.
Oh, totally.
And
He's amazing.
it's like they have this. They seem to have this kind of not invented here syndrome,
Yeah.
where if it's not in house, they just don't do it. And so I would bet they don't, even though it would seem to make a lot of sense. But I thought you were telling me that there was kind of this integrated subscription platform you could get. Maybe I misinterpreted what you were telling me, but I thought you were saying that it was much easier now to kind of have one subscription that did all this. But
Mm.
maybe I got that
I'm
wrong.
not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think so. That's not what I'm seeing. I mean,
Okay.
the integrations I think are very seamless. Like, I become a big Superbase user, a big Netlify user. So, but not yet. Not yet.
Mm.
Like, if I was Lovable or Bolt, I would build my own Netlify, like a simpler version of Netlify, so everyone, and then charge an extra subscription to deploy your apps. Um,
Mm.
I would also become a domain. Like this is the opportunity for these players. Like I would become a domain provider. Like how, because I've also used this thing called SiteGround. There's another one called Namecheap. There's I don't know. There's
Oh,
that big one.
pork bun,
Yeah, like
Dewani.
all of these like domain providers where you go and pay to buy your domain and things like that. Like it's just silly having to go to a different provider for that too. Like they should just create their own light version of that so you don't have to leave. Um, the opportunities for these players to be the center of the universe of this entire new ecosystem is crazy. It's why they're valued at so much. Like Cursor's valued at 10 billion. Windsurf,
Yeah.
OpenAI are trying to buy it for 3 billion. I wouldn't be surprised if Lovable's worth like 1 or 2 billion. Bolt is probably worth the same. That is why. That is why, because they're going to become the center of the universe of these. So, by the way, I used Firebase Studio from Google. Absolutely horrific. Could not find my way around it. The biggest own goal personally that I've seen them make in this space. Like I literally couldn't even use it. I couldn't even figure out where to go. When you compare it to how seamless and easy these other tools were to use, I don't even know why they put it out, honestly.
That's interesting. That's really interesting because as we were talking about last time, Google has just been on fire lately. It seems like they just can't miss lately. After a
Yeah.
slow start, they've just been home run after home run, and so it's interesting that one is not.
Yeah, yeah, it's honestly maybe I wasn't using it right, but my experience was like I couldn't even see a visual of what I was building. Like honestly, it was so poor compared to the other ones. I mean, I'm not going back. I'm not going back. Like there was their chance. There's plenty of other good ones out there that are just iterating like crazy. Have all it because also what big tech are trying to do is they're trying to keep you in their own ecosystem, right? And
Right.
they want you to use Google Cloud, Microsoft wants you to use Azure, Amazon wants you to use AWS, right? Like they want to keep you in their ecosystem. That's their strategy. But that's what's good about these other ones is that you can pick and choose. And I think that's their opportunity. That is their opportunity actually, unless someone comes in and buys them. But that is an opportunity to be that sort of more Shopify version where you can sort of plug in a lot of things. Or WordPress, for example, WordPress, like where you can plug in a lot
Yeah.
of diverse things. And also like the app store, the Apple App Store, right? Like you plug in a lot of like diverse things, and then you become the sort of center of the universe for that. So that's how I would play it if I was these guys. They probably are. I mean, that's probably what they're doing, right?
It always amazes me when we have these conversations, kind of how much even and when we started, I was kind of like, I kind of think this is a slow 2 weeks, and here we've filled 2 hours. You know what I love? I love the way you guys have been chopping these up into shorts.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
Every
yeah.
day, every day, I kind of the shorts pop up on my feed, and it's like, oh, that was that was
Our
it.
shorts get more views than our main videos now. Like this
Oh,
is
I'm
this
sure, I'm
is
sure.
what's happening. We're pretty late to the party, but I did hear a funny quote that podcasts are becoming this vehicle to create short form clips. Creating a podcast now is just a mechanism to create short form clips that go on TikTok and YouTube Shorts.
Yeah,
But
I hadn't thought it till you started chopping these up, but I can definitely see that. And I was talking to a friend who on LinkedIn, and he actually had he's kind of like he's kind of like me. He posts probably 5 to 6 times a week, and it's kind of like a good week is if you average 10,000 views on a post, across an entire week. Like to me, that's a great week. And he had one week
you must
recently
get
with.
way more than that. I think I'm on
No,
like
no, no. I mean, the funny thing is, if I posted about Power BI all the time, I would.
yeah
But a lot of the stuff I'm posting, MCP and AI,
yeah
it
yeah
doesn't draw that much. But it's like I know it's important. I'm interested in it. There's a core group of people who are interested. So I don't really care. I'm not
yeah.
looking for numbers. But you still pay attention to it. I mean, I know you do too. It's kind of like you like to see that the
But
work
I've
you're
given
putting
up.
in is
Yeah, I've given up. Though. Like a lot of to get the. I mean, I can only get big reach if I talk about Power BI too. But
right.
I just want to talk about a diverse range of things. Like yeah, like that's what I want
Yeah.
to do.
But it was interesting because he did mainly shorts for a week, 1.2 million views in the week.
Shorts on LinkedIn or shorts on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So, no, LinkedIn he
What?
did 4 or 5 shorts in the course of a week, 1.2 million views. I mean, 1.2 million views is like that's like a good few months.
What was he talking about?
He was talking about data analysis. He was talking about data careers. It wasn't groundbreaking stuff, but it was really well. The shorts were really well done. They were entertaining. They were informative. They were short. I mean, they were 30 to 90 seconds a piece.
Here's
And
here's here's a test I'll do. I'll put two of our shorts up on my personal LinkedIn over the next 2 weeks or something, and we'll just see how they go. Right.
I'll bet they're the highest ranked
Yeah. Well,
posts you have. Not saying, oh, what we're doing is so magnificent, but
no, we
shorts
have we
just.
have great insights, Brian. We have great insights. I'm sure. I'm sure that's why.
But shorts just seem to really catch fire, and I can see why. Because it's kind of like when you open a bag of potato chips. It's like you just, but before you've eaten half a bag. Because you can just keep flipping through.
Oh,
It's like
there's
I
a
try to
reason
stay
why they're
off it
pushing
on
these things.
YouTube.
There's
I
a
try to
reason
stay
why.
off on YouTube because I I can kill way too much time.
Oh, I know. I was watching my son's got caught on YouTube Shorts now, so this gets scary to watch.
Yeah.
But obviously these engagement metrics are through the roof on these things, or they wouldn't be pushing them, right? Like it's there's positive and negatives. The positive and negatives.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, I've just got to shoot actually. If that's okay. But this was amazing, amazing chat as always. And yeah, looking forward to getting this out to our growing audience. I'm hoping. Hopefully it's growing. But yeah, no.
I love doing it, even if it was just you,
honestly,
me, and no other people.
If no one is listening, it wouldn't worry me either. Honestly, it's too much fun. Talking about our latest thoughts and insights.
Yeah, and I definitely want to catch up with you on the 11 Labs agent stuff, because that has been flummoxing me lately.
You know, I think I'm gonna try and come in with a bang on this build along concept. We're gonna come in with a bang. We're gonna do something big, something cool that combines all of these things. So I'll chat to you about that, and and we'll look for the right format to actually do it through.
That sounds awesome.
Okay. Have a good one. Enjoy it.
You too, Sam.
Okay. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.